Once upon a time, royalty dressed to impress. But sometimes they dress to confuse, horrify, or accidentally flash the entire court. Because when you're a monarch, no one tells you, hey man, maybe don't wear that flamingo-drenched velvet trench coat to your own coronation. Today, we're digging into some of the worst royal fashion disasters throughout history. Buckle up, because it's going to get lacy, itchy, and extremely regrettable. Let's kick things off with King Henry VIII, a man known for beheading his wives and dressing like he raided a Renaissance yard sale blindfolded. Henry was obsessed with showing off his wealth, so he layered on fur, gold, and puff sleeves so big they had their own zip code. One of his outfits reportedly weighed over 50 pounds. That's right, this man walked around dressed like a Baroque sandbag just to flex. And in the process, he also sweated profusely and smelled like a goat in a sauna. Regal. Jump ahead to the 18th century and meet Queen Marie Antoinette, who said, "Let them eat cake," while her wigs ate the ceiling. Marie's hairdos were so outrageously tall, sometimes over 3 feet, that she had to kneel in her carriage just to fit inside. She once wore a hairstyle that included a model ship, an actual wooden boat, in her hair. What was the occasion? A naval victory. So naturally, she said, "Put the warship on my scalp, Pierre." That's not fashion, that's architecture. Speaking of bad ideas, let's talk about King Ludwig II of Bavaria, also known as the fairy tale king, and not in the fun Disney way. This guy was obsessed with fantasy and wore medieval capes and feathered hats in the 1800s like it was Comic-Con Bavaria. His outfits looked like what you'd get if you asked a drunk art student to design a time-traveling wizard. At one point, he even wore a silver-embroidered cloak made entirely from peacock feathers. Subtle. In more recent history, Princess Diana, yes, fashion icon Diana, had her missteps too. Early on, she was photographed wearing a black strapless gown that caused an absolute scandal. Not because it was ugly, it actually looked great, but because it showed her shoulders. Gasp. In royal circles, showing your collarbones was the equivalent of committing treason via clavicle. The press dubbed it the cleavage dress and lost their collective minds. Meanwhile, Diana was like 19 and probably just trying to not trip on her heels. Let's not forget Prince Charles, who once wore a beige safari suit with matching knee-high socks and loafers, in the jungle. Not only did he look like he was auditioning to be the least effective Bond villain ever, but he also had the style sense of a garden gnome attending a TED Talk. But that's tame compared to the time he wore a kilt with a wind gust that turned a formal event into an accidental showing of the Royal Shorts Chronicles. The Queen was not amused. And then we've got Princess Beatrice at Prince William and Kate Middleton's wedding. Beatrice showed up in a hat that looked like the devil's pretzel doing a gymnastics routine. It sat on her forehead like a haunted pastry and immediately became a meme. People compared it to everything from a toilet seat to a mutant octopus. The hat later sold for over $130,000 at charity auction, proving that some people will pay anything for a piece of nightmare fuel. Meanwhile, King Farouk of Egypt, a man who was once described as 300 pounds of appetite in a fez, was infamous for wearing jewel-encrusted uniforms, complete with medals he made up himself. That's right, he awarded himself fake medals for things like being awesome and owning tigers. One of his jackets had over 40 buttons, which is fine unless you're trying to actually move, in which case you might as well be gift-wrapped in a chandelier. And finally, let's talk about Queen Elizabeth I, who basically said, "I want to look like an angry chandelier, and I want it every day." Her dresses were so heavily embroidered and stiff with whalebone corsets that she couldn't even bend at the waist. This lady went to war dressed like a Fabergé egg. She also painted her face with white lead, which was extremely poisonous, leading to hair loss, rotting teeth, and ultimately, surprise, death. But hey, at least she was pale and ghostly chic. So what have we learned? If you're royal, wear whatever you want, no one will stop you. But the internet will never forget. Whether it's a boat on your head, 50 pounds of Tudor upholstery, or Satan's cinnamon roll balancing on your brow, fashion fades, but cringe is forever.